Welcome to the Smarter Driver Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Rick August. Here we talk about the things that really irk you when driving, because driving is emotional and we like nothing better than to police other drivers. And this is termed social driving. Here we give you tips and strategies to be a safer, smarter driver and help you get your license. Car's all gassed up. Let's get going. Hi there, Smart Driver. Talking to you tonight about what it's like driving after you get your license and how to keep yourself safe and significantly reduce your chances of being involved in a crash, because the 18 to 24-year-old group of drivers, that age group, new drivers in the first year of their driving, are at a much higher risk of being involved in a crash. That's what we're going to talk about tonight. This is for drivers who just got their driver's license and are getting out on the road and start driving by themselves, solo. And obviously this is someplace like Boston or Montreal. And is it really that much different? It is different, because now you have to get yourself from point A to point B successfully, okay? And there's nobody there telling you to go left or right or where to go and have directions and those types of things. There's no mentor sitting in the car. There's no driving instructor. So you have to get all of this stuff going on your own. All right, so first time driving alone. We think that driving is easy. We watch our parents do it, we watch our family members do it, we watch friends do it, and we think that driving is easy. Driving is probably the most dynamic thing that we do on a daily basis. Think of driving a little bit like wedding photography. We think, oh, it's easy to do wedding photography because we all have a camera. But all of a sudden you whip out a tripod and everybody thinks you're some kind of expert. A tripod is just a stabilizer for your camera. And years ago, when I was going to university, back in the days of film cameras, I took a course in photography, and the first thing that the instructor said to any of us was, if you want to improve your photographs by 90%, he said, get yourself a tripod. It's the same thing with video. It's the same thing with shooting live streams right now. Get yourself a tripod, get yourself a stabilizer for your camera, because it's going to make your video 100% better. Same thing with, driving cars. There's certain things that you need to do, certain skills, information, and techniques that you can put in place that will all of a sudden elevate you to a much higher level of being an expert in driving a car, and significantly reduces your chances of being involved in a crash. Because you're going to understand that there's a whole bunch of things that you were not taught when you were learning how to drive, and you are going to be completely overwhelmed. For example, looking at your phone that's running GPS and running map data. I mean, even myself, I have to have the visual on. I have to have it in a phone mount in my car, and I have to be looking at it at the same time to try and understand where I'm going. And that's a new skill set, because now you're distracted because you're trying to read the map at the same time that you're trying to drive the car. And I will say to you right now, for all of you who are using GPS, using your phone, get a phone holder in your car. It makes all the difference in the world. And I can say this with some authority because I drove for years without using a phone holder. They're only about 20 bucks, and it is just going to make your life so much easier. All right, space management, as I said in the introduction, the one skill, the one technique that you can implement that is going to make you 100% safer is space management. It's like buying the tripod for your photography and doing your videos. It's the one thing that is going to improve your photography and your videos by 90%. Space management is the one thing that's going to significantly reduce your chances of being involved in a crash by at least 90%. All right, the only time that you should be using the brake is when you're slowing down to turn or turning traffic in front of you. You're coming to a stop at a traffic light or somewhere else, a stop sign and whatnot. Controlling your speed on a downhill, and unexpected events. Those 4 times are the only time that you should be using the brake in your vehicle. If you're using the brake to control space in front of your vehicle, you're too close. Back off. And for most people I see on the roadways participating in social driving, they could double their following distance and they would be significantly more safe. But too many people don't do that. They think they need to be right up behind the vehicle in front of them. Okay, when you're stopping in traffic, always be able to see the tires of the vehicle in front making clear contact with the roadway. That's approximately 1 vehicle length. And when you're going slow in backed up traffic or congestion or whatnot, always maintain that 1 vehicle length from you and the vehicles in front of you. That way, if your attention wanes or you're distracted, as we're always going to be distracted, because as you know, I have a puppy and the puppy sits in the front seat, but the puppy still hasn't figured out that the puppy's supposed to be in the passenger seat, not sitting on my lap. And he tries to sit in my lap, okay? And so you're gonna be distracted. You're going to be distracted when you're driving. So this space is going to compensate and put in place strategies that are going to compensate or not get you into a crash when you're distracted. Okay, aggression and honking, it's going to happen. Peer pressure when you're driving is very real. Okay, there is some force within driving that is saying to you as a new driver, hurry up and go. You are bloody hell in my way. Get out of my way. And it forces you to make mistakes when you're driving. Go on a left turn when you don't have significant gap. So focus on what you're doing. Other drivers only have 3 choices. They can run into you, they can wait for you to do whatever you're doing, or they can bloody well just go home. Okay? They are not going to run into you intentionally. All right? So don't go until you are safe to go. Okay? Let them go and have their crash somewhere else. Just back off, take a breath, get your composure again, and then carry on with what you need to do when you're driving. Freeways and motorways, left lane squatters. Oh my God. This is the pet peeve of me as the leader of the smarter driver community. Left lane squatters. I just, every time I see left lane squatters, I just think of that Bruce Coburn song. If I had a rocket launcher, I would just blow you to smithereens so you would get out of the flipping left lane. Okay? Driving is not a hit it and quit it thing. And you in North America do not have the right to sit in the flipping left lane. Get out of the left lane. Okay? It will make traffic safer. And if you see somebody coming up behind you, move over. Even if you have to slow down, let them go past and then move back out and past the traffic. Stay out of the clusters on the highway and continuity lines. For new drivers, you're always looking for the intersections, and intersections are not the conventional crossroad thing that you're always thinking about in terms of intersections. On freeways and highways, it's any place where traffic is coming out and merging onto the freeway, and most of the time it's accompanied by an overpass. Okay, there's going to be an overpass, there's going to be an off-ramp, deceleration lanes, and then there's going to be on-ramps and acceleration lanes. This is where you're going to merge with other traffic. Look for big trucks. Look for different kinds of vehicles coming out onto the roadways and merging. Pay attention to that. Adjust your speed. Maintain your space, okay? Space always trumps speed. Sometimes you just have to let off the throttle to let the other vehicles out onto the roadway on the highway. Okay, left turns. As a new driver, post-license, the place where you are most likely to have a crash is on a left-hand turn, okay? Stay out of the intersection. Do not wait in the intersection to make your left-hand turn. Wait at the edge of the intersection. The landmark for that for most people is the front steer tires and the front crosswalk line. But it's simply, all I'm saying is the front of your car at the edge of the intersection. Wait there. New drivers misjudge the gap for the left-hand turn. If you are at the edge of the intersection and waiting to go, the second that the light turns yellow, start driving straight into the intersection. When you have double, triple checked that the oncoming traffic has in fact stopped, then you make your left-hand turn and clear the intersection. That's how you make left-hand turns. And if you're not comfortable with that, hire a driving instructor, go out for a lesson, just work on that. Or have a mentor, somebody that you trust, go out and help you with your left-hand turns to make them better. Social driving. People are not going to stop at stop signs. They are not going to drive the speed limit. They're going to follow too close, and they are going to not give you the right of way. All right, this is all part and parcel of social driving. And double park, double solid lines, moving over double solid lines, sometimes you're going to have to do this, especially if you're driving in the Bronx or driving in any of the boroughs in New York City or other large metropolitan areas, Chicago, Los Angeles, Dallas, Texas, Tampa, Florida, Raleigh, North Carolina. Any one of these large metropolitan cities are going to have traffic that's double parked. They're going to have driving cultures. Driving cultures are going to vary depending on where you are. In New York City, double parking is part of their driving culture. And if you see this video, it was just after this that I failed my driver's test because there was a car on jack stands outside of an auto mechanic shop, and it was double parked on the roadway, and I was busy looking at the car, and then I made a right-hand turn on a red light, which is something you cannot do in the 5 boroughs of New York City, in Manhattan, the Bronx, Queens, Staten Island, and Brooklyn. So know that you cannot make a right-hand turn on a red light. And the other place that you can't make a right-hand turn on a red light is on the island of Montreal. That's the other place. Tools and tips: shoulder checking, shoulder checking, shoulder checking. Do not give up this skill after you get your license. All too many drivers do, and very few drivers actually shoulder check. Not shoulder checking is to driving what not checking to see if a weapon is loaded is to gun safety. Shoulder check, shoulder check. Why on any planet would you move a 2,000 to 4,000 pound vehicle at speed, change directions, and not look into your blind areas to see if there's a vulnerable road user there? The other thing about intersections, talking about vulnerable road users, those that are likely to be killed in the incident of a crash, pedestrians, scooters and skaters, cyclists and motorcycle riders. There's no fender benders for any one of those people. They're going to be injured, they're going to be seriously injured, or they're going to be killed in the event of a crash. The place that you are most likely to encounter these people is at intersections. So manage space around your vehicle, stopping at traffic lights, one vehicle back, and then following other traffic. Keep your distance from other traffic. If you're not near anything, it's less likely that you're going to hit something. Communication, signal every time you change direction of your vehicle, even in parking lots, okay? The position of your vehicle communicates intent on the highway, okay? Lights and signals, hand gestures, eye contact. These are all of the ways that we communicate with other traffic and other road users on the roadway. You can be right or you can be dead right. If you're unsure of the traffic situation as a new driver, simply stop, okay? Now, ragamuffin. This is one of the posts that I put on the social media tab. I was walking down, taking my kids to school one morning, and yesterday while I was walking, I saw a pimped out Jeep make 2 risky lane changes in less than 2 blocks. So they're one of those people that are weaving in and out of traffic. Not surprising, when the vehicle stopped at the traffic light, it had a brake light out and was adorned with an N placard, which means that it's a provisional driver. It's the driver that's got their license but not their full license yet. So you may think, as a new driver, that you got your new car and it's all pimped out with its loud exhaust and its mags on it and whatnot. But trust me, you stick out. And to quote my friend Tim, the nail that sticks up is the one that gets hammered, okay? You are going to get a speeding ticket. And if you follow any of the police forces on Twitter, you're going to see every day there's a post of some young person in a pimped out vehicle that is doing 130 kilometers an hour in a 60 kilometer an hour zone. That is irresponsible, not to mention dangerous, and you simply lose your license for stunt driving because you're 40 kilometers an hour over the posted speed limit. And I think they have something similar in most of the US states, where if you're driving 30 miles an hour over the posted speed limit, it's considered stunt driving and they impound your vehicle. And we talk more about that. But the thing is, if you get your license and you want to be a badass, and you got yourself a pimped out car and you're doing stupid things inside the city, you're the one that the police are going to pull over and they're going to take your license away. Know that. All right, so good luck on your driver's test, and remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. Social driving, the way that everybody else on the roadway drives. If you participate in social driving, you are going to significantly increase your chances of being involved in a crash because, as I said, social driving Everybody follows too close. Everybody speeds and keeps up with traffic flow. And it's not speed that causes crashes. Speed contributes to the severity of the crash and increases the severity of the crash, but it's not the reason for the crash. The reason for crashing is because drivers are too close to other vehicles in front of them. And I just got back from a trip from Calgary, Alberta here. It's a 6.5, 7-hour drive from where I live here. And I mean, out on the highway, nobody else on the highway, and there's two cars, and you think that they were driving NASCAR. The one behind the one in front was so close behind it that I was like, what are you people doing? You have no idea how dangerous that is. Tim, speed limits your ability to do things. What are you involved in at a high speed? You might not be at a lower speed. Yes, that is true. However, speed works in conjunction with space, and you have to keep space around your vehicle. Nelmick, we should keep a 5 to 10 second following distance on the highway right. Not necessarily 5 to 10 seconds, but you need 4 to 5 seconds. Measuring distance in time is relative. So the faster you go, the more that space opens up. And that's what you need to do, okay? So know that for the purposes of driving. Brights at night, elevator fan. Yes, if they're a fair distance off, if you're a half a kilometer off from another vehicle and the vehicle is not lowering its lights, its bright lights, you can give it a little quick flash on your lights just to say, hey, you know, lower your lights down. But if you're closer than that, if you're closer than half a mile, closer than half a kilometer, then don't do it, okay? Because you're going to have two blind drivers, so don't do that. G22, how to get over the anxiety of taking your eyes off the road when shoulder checking. Again, that comes back to space in front of your vehicle, because you need that space in front of your vehicle to be able to work. And as well, know that for the shoulder check, it's just a quick shoulder check, all right? And there's lots of looking around. And again, Corey will put up the video for you on observation and seeing. You have to move your head when you're observing. You cannot observe without moving your head. You have to look up into the center mirror. You have to look over into the wing mirrors, okay? So the whole time that you're driving, your head is moving, shoulder checking, looking in your mirrors. So know that you have to move your head. You cannot just move your eyes when you're driving. Pierce, when you're turning left, you have to stay in the right side during the left turns. When turning right, you have to stay on the right side during right turns. Yes, it's left lane to left lane and right lane to right lane. When you're turning left, after turning left, you have to move back to the right on a multi-lane road. Nelmick, when on the on-ramp straightens out, we should accelerate. Yes. Nelmick, as soon as you get a straight shot out onto the freeway, get your foot into the throttle, get it right to the floor. And as well, when you're coming out on the on-ramp, you should be looking out on the highway, the freeway, and you should be picking your spot and aiming for that spot. All right, as I said, I just come back from Calgary. Calgary is a city like Los Angeles that grew up with the motor car. There are freeways everywhere. You are moving from the Shaganappi Trail to the Deerfoot Trail to, there's a whole bunch of them that I can't remember all the names. I've been there a few times, but it's just, you're just merging all the time, and you just have to get your foot onto it and get going and do what you need to do to get out there and get on the highway safely. Parking a car illegally next to a car that is already parked at the side of the road. Oh yes, double parking. Okay, sorry, there were some people who didn't know what double parking is. Yeah, so in these major metropolitan cities, there's no place to park, and it's mostly delivery vehicles, not so much other people's, but if you're just like running into a shop to get something and then you come back out, there's a car already parked there, and then you park there as well. So it's double parked. So there's a car here, and you're out into the driving lane and other traffic has to go around you. That's what double parking is. 3PO, on Father's Day, I signaled, shoulder checked, then right before I changed lanes, I shoulder checked again, and this guy zoomed past me. I called him a dimwit in my mind, in, let's say, a more colorful way. Awesome. Yeah, and that happens. But keep in mind that when you shoulder check again and you check and you see a vehicle zooming up to pass you, they're actually doing you a favor because they're getting out of the way, right? And this is the reason that we shoulder check twice when we're changing lanes, right? Just in case some goofball does do that, right? Because they do that, because me first and I'm going to go, right? So shoulder check twice, go once. That's the rule. Nelmick, I've been told you need to do a blind spot check every time you signal, just not changing lanes by Toronto drivers. Yes, Nelmick. Shoulder check and signal every time you change directions of the vehicle. Every time. Not just for lane changes. No. That is false information. Every time you change directions of the vehicle, the direction you're going, so if you're going right, which is that way for you, that way for me, you're going to shoulder check in the direction that you're moving the vehicle and signaling to communicate your intention with other drivers. Let's not make it complicated. Blitz, as someone who obtained their license in April, I can say that driving after receiving your license is definitely different than driving before. Yes, it is. First, you're driving by yourself. You got to figure out navigation, getting from point A to point B, especially if you don't know where you're going. And years ago, when I was teaching truck driving, I mean, we live in the Okanagan Valley, and it's pretty easy because you either go north or you go south. You can't go east to west unless you're driving through the mountains. Anyway, the major highway, there's only one major highway through the Okanagan Valley, and it's Highway 97. This guy that I was teaching how to drive truck, I was like, what's the major highway that runs through the Okanagan Valley? He couldn't tell me what the major highway was. And then I said to him, well, how are you going to get around in the truck? Oh, I'm just going to stay within the city in which I live, which was Salmon Arm at the time. And then we went out on a highway trip, and we're coming back, and he completely went the wrong way. And I said to him, where are you going? Oh, I'm going here. And I said, well, you just turn here to go back to Vernon. You don't have to go to Salmon Arm. And I was like, how can you drive professionally and not know navigation and route planning? You have to do some of this stuff, right? And if you're not familiar with it, if you're not familiar with working with your GPS, and there's actually a navigation video here on the channel, Corey will put that up for you and you can have a look at that, and that'll figure out how to do that. And I probably need to redo that video for you, and that'll help you out. Now, the other piece about it, so we're coming back out of Calgary. I have bonus points, or I'm on the loyalty program with Superstore, so I get all the points to get free groceries. So I have to go to an Esso or I have to go to a Superstore to get the loyalty points. So we're going to an Esso. Of course, the Esso is way up in the middle of somewhere, way off the main road. We get there, and the pumps are all dug up, so there's no fuel to be bought. And we drove halfway off, all around the stupid Calgary to find the stupid Esso place. And finally, I just went back to the petrol can. I was like, I just put fuel in the dumb thing. Blitzo, also the other day when I was driving, someone cut me off and I honked at them for it, but I moved on quickly from it and left them alone just because it was not worth being mean to them. Yes, Blitzo, driving is emotional. We have emotional reactions to other people, and I mean, just talk to my kids about me getting emotional when I'm driving, especially left lane squatters. Oh, just sends me over the edge. 3PO, I prefer Google Maps. Wazzy is for daredevils who like going through narrow alleys. Yes. Okay, yes, Google Maps is great. I find the app on the Apple iPhone really good as well. I hook it up to Bluetooth, and I get both the audio and I get the visual because the phone is sitting right there on the phone holder. So, really excellent, especially driving around Calgary, because I didn't grow up in Calgary, so I don't know my way around in those types of things. Rocky Mountain, when a car behind you is following too close, what should you do? Tailgating. If you're in the right lane on a multi-lane road, move over, or if you're in the left lane rather, move over to the right-hand lane on a multi-lane road. Increase your following distance in front. That way you can prevent aggressive braking for the vehicle in front of you, because now you're driving for you and you're driving for the goofball that's tailgating you behind. If there's a safe place, then move over and pull off the road and let them pass, okay? Because people who are tailgating you are basically just saying, I want to go faster, okay? So that's what you need to do. Marion, now you remind me, again, on highways and freeways, if you miss your exit, don't try and just cram your way over to making your exit. Go to the next exit, okay? Because that will prevent you from being involved in a horrific crash. And keep in mind, good drivers sometimes miss their exit. Bad drivers never miss their exit. I love that saying, okay? And I'm going to use that in the second edition of the book that I'm going to put up, okay? So know that. Good drivers sometimes miss an exit. Bad drivers never miss an exit, okay? Do not cut across lanes of traffic on a freeway to get into your exit. You will eventually, the chickens will come home to roost and you will be in a horrific crash. Mallory, when I'm traveling in the car with my family, we often see social driving while on the road. Yes, all the time. All the time, my friend. Michael, how do you suggest we make right or left turns at a stop sign when we can't see oncoming traffic because of parked cars in the adjacent road obstructing the view of oncoming traffic in that direction? Awesome question, Michael. So when you're stopped at a stop sign and you can't see, you have to creep forward until you can see. And only when you're absolutely sure that there's no cross traffic coming, then you proceed. You stop at the correct stopping position behind the stop line, behind the crosswalk, behind the sidewalk. If those two conditions don't exist, then just at the edge of the road before entering the intersection, and then creep forward until you can actually see. And Corey will put up the video for you on that I failed the driver's test in New York City and Bronx there. There are intersections that are exactly that, where the cars are parked right up to the edge of the intersection and you stop at the correct stopping position and then you creep out until you can see. It's the same thing within a parking lot. If you're pulled into the space and you're backing up and you can't see, creep out. Keep creeping, creep until you can see, and only when you can see, then you proceed. All right? Is there a risk of crashing into oncoming traffic doing the jig-jog left turn method? Nelmick, no, there isn't, because you're not going to cross the center line of the roadway on which you're on, okay? So what happens is, on the jig-jog, is the left lane is right of center, is what's happened there. And so because you're right of center too much, and there's a large vehicle in the left turning lane on the opposite side of the intersection, you need to move and then come back so that the back end of the vehicle and the vehicle is straight. Because when you're making a left-hand turn, and this is defensive posturing, it's not just your steer tires that need to be straight, but the vehicle needs to be straight in the intersection. So in the event that you get rear-ended, your steer tires can't be turned and the vehicle can't be on an angle. Because if either of those two conditions exist and you get rear-ended when you're making a left-hand turn, even more dangerous when it's at high speeds, you will get pushed into oncoming traffic. So instead of being one crash, you're now going to be two crashes, and you're probably not going to survive the head-on crash at high speeds. So you need to keep both the steer tires straight and the vehicle straight to do that jig jog. So you just come to the center line and then you come back to get the vehicle straight. That way you can see past the obstruction on the other side of the intersection. That's what you need to be doing. All right, what should you do if you have a tire blowout? It's essentially the same thing. Tire blowouts are the same thing as your vehicle going into a skid. Take your foot off the throttle, take your foot off the gas pedal, and steer the vehicle in the direction that you want to go. All vehicles now have power steering. All vehicles now have radial tires. The other piece about this is that you can drive for a period of time on a flat tire and you're not going to do any damage to the tire. Okay, you want to get the vehicle into a safe place that will allow you to change the tire, or will allow you to call roadside assistance, and they're going to come out and change the tire for you. Now, almost 90% of people are getting this question right, so we'll just leave that where it is. Okay, we had a couple of people on here that there's some misinformation on here. I just want to clarify this for smart drivers here. So if you go into a skid, what do? Okay? Now, there's some people into drifting here. Release pressure on the steering wheel to let the front wheels counter steer, then modulate the gas to hold your car in a drift. Yeah, you're not, believe me, if you go into a skid in your vehicle, you're not going to have time to do this, okay? And then there's people who are saying it doesn't depend on whether your front or back of the car is sliding off in the direction. Okay, so this person is talking about oversteering and understeering. Okay, understeering is when you turn the steering wheel and the vehicle continues to go straight. Oversteering is when you turn the steering wheel and the back end of the car starts to come around. That's oversteering and understeering. All right, that has nothing to do with the vehicle going into the skid, because if the vehicle goes into a skid, often what happens is that the back end of the vehicle starts to come around and you lose control of the vehicle. Now, this person here said depends on where the power is put by the drivetrain. So they're talking about four-wheel drive, front-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive vehicles, or all-wheel drive vehicles. Believe me, it doesn't matter what kind of vehicle you have, whether you have an all-wheel drive, four-wheel drive. Once it breaks traction, it doesn't matter. There isn't anything you can do. Take your foot off the throttle, take your foot off the gas pedal, off the brake, and steer in the direction that you need to steer. Now, as I said in the explanation, have your seatbelt on, because you have to have your seatbelt on to keep you in the driver's seat. Because if you're not in the driver's seat, you can't drive the vehicle, okay? And you got to steer like a crazy person. Now, there's another person on here who said something about ABS brakes. I just wanted to clarify that. Yes, older cars without ABS, okay? Cars haven't had ABS, haven't been not have ABS brakes since the 1980s, okay? Cars have had ABS brakes since the mid 1980s, so it's been like 35 or 40 years that cars have had ABS brakes. ABS brakes have nothing to do with your vehicle going to a skid, okay? If you're in an emergency situation, you're braking, then yes, hard pressure on the ABS brakes and steer around it. But if you're in a skid, off the gas, off the brake, steer in the direction that you want to go. Rocky Mountain, how do you deal with impatient other drivers? Rocky Mountain, as we said in the presentation there, you can wait, they can wait for you. Sorry, I'll back up one step. Focus on what you're doing. Don't get sucked into what they're doing, because driving is very emotional. The social pressure of driving is real. So focus on what you're doing, because other drivers have three choices. They can wait for you, they can crash into you, or they can just go home, okay? Just let them go and have their crash somewhere else, because honking the horn and all those things are not going to do anything if you don't let them, okay? So do what you need to do. The other piece with all of this is that, you know, you get pulled over by police and you get a ticket and whatnot. All of this is reflected on your insurance, and your insurance premiums are going to go up. So just keep in mind that, you know, your insurance is already incredibly expensive. I know that there are a lot of young drivers who are paying, you know, incredible premiums, $3,000 a year, $4,000 a year for their vehicle, and then you start adding speeding tickets on top of that, or traffic violations, and your insurance is going to go through the roof. So this is the other thing to think about if you want to be one of those ragamuffins who's got a loud exhaust and cool mags in your car and a scoop and those types of things. You know, just think about that in terms of what it's going to cost you for insurance on your vehicle. And remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. Have a great night. All the best. Bye now. Thanks for listening to the Smarter Driver Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Rick August. If there's something you'd like us to talk about, or something that really irks you about driving and the things that other drivers do, leave us a comment, hit that like and subscribe button, and be sure to check out the Smarter Driver course package if you want skills and abilities to become a safer, smarter driver and significantly reduce your chances of being involved in a crash. Thanks again, all the best, and remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. Have a great day.